Imagine a life where the weight of others' opinions no longer holds you back. A life where your decisions, your happiness, and your peace are completely in your control. In a world where judgment and criticism are constant, how do we rise above it all? Buddhism offers profound teachings to help us let go of this invisible burden and reclaim our inner power. Today, we're diving into 10 transformative lessons that will free you from the need for approval and unlock a life of unshakable calm and authenticity. Lesson 1. Recognize the power of self-worth. Understanding your own value is one of the most important steps toward true inner peace. In Buddhism, we are encouraged to turn inward for validation, understanding that our worth doesn't depend on what others think or say. Often, people look for approval from friends, family, or society to feel good about themselves. But by doing so, they hand over their power and let others dictate their sense of self-worth. Buddhism teaches that each of us has an inherent value simply by being ourselves. Recognizing this intrinsic worth helps us build a stable foundation that can't be shaken by others' opinions. Imagine being so secure in who you are that no criticism, judgment, or praise can disturb your peace. This inner knowing acts like armor, allowing us to face the world with calm and confidence. When we truly understand and accept our self-worth, we no longer feel the need to prove ourselves to others, freeing us from the pressure of seeking constant approval. Instead, we find a deep sense of happiness and fulfillment within ourselves. This peace grows stronger each day as we let go of the need for outside validation and focus on nurturing our own inner strength. With time, we begin to understand that our worth is constant and unchanging, no matter what others think or say. As we embrace this truth, we step into a life of freedom, resilience, and genuine self-love. 2. Stay strong when life gets tough. Life will always bring challenges and difficult moments, but Buddhism teaches us that our inner strength can carry us through any storm. In times of hardship, it's natural to feel vulnerable to the opinions and judgments of others, especially when we're unsure or struggling ourselves. However, staying resilient means anchoring ourselves in a place of calm and acceptance, rather than being swayed by external pressures. Imagine your mind as a mountain, strong, steady, and unmoved by the winds of criticism or doubt. Buddhism encourages us to cultivate this mental strength by accepting that difficulties are a natural part of life and can even serve as opportunities for growth. Every challenge is a chance to become more aware, to learn, and to strengthen our inner resolve. When we face life's ups and downs with this mindset, we begin to see that the opinions of others are just passing clouds in our sky. By focusing on our inner journey rather than on outside judgments, we build a quiet but powerful resilience. This resilience helps us to stay grounded, even when life feels chaotic or uncertain, and reminds us that our strength comes from within, not from the approval or disapproval of others. Embracing this inner power allows us to move through life with confidence and peace, trusting that we have the ability to overcome whatever comes our way. 3. Understand that opinions are often biased. Buddhism teaches us that people see the world through their own lenses, shaped by their personal experiences, beliefs, and emotions. This means that everyone's opinions are inherently biased. They reflect the person's unique perspective rather than any absolute truth about us. Understanding this can be incredibly freeing because it reminds us that others' judgments often say more about them than they do about us. Imagine someone viewing you through tinted glasses. Their opinions are colored by their own fears, expectations, and past experiences. Recognizing this bias helps us detach from the need for validation. When someone criticizes or judges you, it's often a reflection of their own mindset or insecurities. Buddhism encourages us to respond to these opinions with compassion, seeing them as expressions of others' inner struggles rather than as definitive statements about our worth. By understanding this, we can learn not to take others' judgments personally and can instead focus on our own path. The more we accept that opinions are subjective, the easier it becomes to let them pass by without attaching our self-worth to them. This understanding creates a layer of inner peace, allowing us to stay grounded in our truth, unaffected by the shifting views of others. Embracing this perspective frees us to live authentically, guided by our own values and wisdom, rather than the changing opinions of those around us. 4. Shift your focus to growth, not approval. In Buddhism, growth and self-awareness are emphasized over the fleeting satisfaction of approval from others. When we focus too much on gaining approval, we give others the power to shape our sense of self-worth. This can create a cycle of constantly seeking validation, leaving us feeling unfulfilled. Shifting our focus to personal growth, however, brings lasting satisfaction because it's rooted in our own journey and values. Growth is about becoming the best version of ourselves, not about living up to others' expectations. Imagine if, instead of worrying about how others perceive you, you dedicated your energy to learning, improving, and understanding yourself better each day. Buddhism encourages this mindset by teaching that true fulfillment comes from evolving within, not from external praise. When we prioritize growth, we are more resilient to criticism, seeing it as an opportunity to improve rather than as a personal attack. This perspective allows us to let go of perfectionism and embrace life's challenges as lessons. By focusing on our own progress, we begin to let go of the need for others' approval. This shift in perspective empowers us to live according to our values and goals, not those imposed by others. Each step forward in personal growth strengthens our self-confidence, creating a steady foundation that doesn't rely on others' opinions. This inward focus brings us a deeper sense of purpose and peace, freeing us from the constant chase for validation. 5. Find validation within, not outside. Buddhism teaches that true happiness and peace come from within, not from the fleeting approval of others. When we rely on outside validation to feel good about ourselves, we hand over control of our emotions and self-worth to others, making ourselves vulnerable to their changing opinions. Instead, Buddhism encourages us to cultivate an inner source of validation, one that doesn't depend on external praise or recognition. This inner validation is based on self-respect, compassion, and a deep understanding of our own worth. Imagine feeling content and secure simply by knowing who you are and accepting yourself fully, regardless of what anyone else thinks. By developing a strong sense of self from within, we become less influenced by others' opinions and can navigate life with greater confidence and inner peace. Buddhism often refers to this practice as finding refuge in oneself, an unshakable state of self-assurance that external judgments cannot disturb. This inward focus on self-validation frees us from the need to constantly prove ourselves or seek approval. We become our own source of comfort and reassurance, finding value in our unique journey and growth. Over time, this inner strength allows us to live authentically and purposefully, guided by our own sense of worth. With each step we take in this direction, we cultivate a sense of fulfillment that is deeply rooted, lasting, and resilient to the opinions of others. 6. Accept that you can't control what others think. Buddhism teaches us that trying to control how others perceive us is an exhausting and ultimately impossible task. People's thoughts and opinions are influenced by their own experiences, beliefs, and emotions, which are beyond our reach. Attempting to manage these perceptions only drains our energy and creates stress, pulling us away from our own peace. Accepting that we cannot control others' opinions is an essential step toward freeing ourselves from the need for approval. Imagine the freedom of letting go of this constant worry and focusing instead on living authentically. Buddhism emphasizes that by releasing this attachment to control, we can cultivate a state of inner calm, unshaken by the judgments of others. This acceptance doesn't mean we stop caring about others or their feelings, but rather that we prioritize our own well-being over trying to manipulate how others see us. When we fully understand that others' thoughts are their own, we can start to focus on what we can control, our own actions, values, and growth. This shift brings a profound sense of relief, as we realize that we are only responsible for our own intentions and choices, not for managing others' opinions. Embracing this truth empowers us to live more freely and confidently, anchored in our own purpose rather than in the need to be understood or approved by others. In this space of acceptance, we find a new level of resilience, peace, and self-respect. 7. Develop resilience to criticism. Criticism is something we all encounter, whether it comes from those around us or even from our own inner voice. Buddhism teaches that while we cannot avoid criticism, we can control how we respond to it, cultivating resilience and inner peace in the process. Developing resilience to criticism isn't about becoming numb or ignoring others' feedback. It's about learning to interpret criticism in a way that supports our growth rather than undermines our self-worth. When we embrace this perspective, criticism transforms from a source of anxiety into a valuable tool for personal development and self-awareness. One core Buddhist teaching is that our sense of self should come from within, rather than being shaped by external voices. Too often, we internalize criticism as a measure of our worth, allowing others' words to influence how we feel about ourselves. But Buddhism encourages us to observe our reactions to criticism with compassion and curiosity. Why does criticism hurt? What part of us feels threatened? By asking these questions, we begin to understand that the sting of criticism often stems from our own insecurities and our attachment to a certain image of ourselves. When we examine these attachments, we become aware of how much we rely on others' opinions to affirm our self-image. This awareness is a crucial step toward breaking free from the hold that criticism has over us. Buddhism introduces the concept of equanimity, which is the practice of staying balanced and calm in the face of both praise and blame. Equanimity doesn't mean ignoring feedback, but rather seeing both praise and criticism as temporary expressions of others' perspectives rather than absolute truths. Imagine standing firm like a deep-rooted tree while winds of both praise and criticism blow past you. This image of equanimity reminds us that we can remain steady and secure, regardless of the opinions swirling around us. By practicing equanimity, we learn to observe criticism without letting it sink into our core, which allows us to accept feedback gracefully without letting it destabilize our inner peace. Buddhism also teaches that criticism often says more about the critic than the person being criticized. People's opinions are shaped by their own experiences, insecurities, and biases. When someone criticizes us, it's often a reflection of their perspective rather than an objective truth about us. Understanding this can be incredibly freeing, as it allows us to view criticism with a sense of detachment. We can acknowledge others' feedback without automatically internalizing it as a reflection of our worth. Buddhism encourages us to respond to criticism with compassion, both toward ourselves and the critic. By understanding that everyone carries their own struggles and perspectives, we can soften our defensive reactions and view criticism with an open mind. Building resilience to criticism also involves cultivating a compassionate relationship with ourselves. When we treat ourselves with kindness and understanding, we no longer feel the need to be perfect or to live up to others' expectations. Self-compassion allows us to embrace our flaws and mistakes as natural parts of growth, reducing the impact that criticism has on our self-esteem. Imagine the strength that comes from knowing, deep down, that you are worthy and whole, regardless of what others say. When we ground ourselves in self-compassion, criticism becomes a lighter burden, and we can process it in a way that supports our personal development. Another key practice in Buddhism is mindfulness, which helps us observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. Through mindfulness, we can notice how criticism affects us and choose to respond rather than react. For example, when we feel the sting of criticism, we can pause and take a few deep breaths, allowing the initial reaction to pass. This creates a space for us to reflect on the criticism with clarity. Is there something useful in this feedback? If so, we can use it constructively. If not, we can let it go without allowing it to disturb our inner peace. Mindfulness empowers us to respond to criticism thoughtfully rather than defensively, enhancing our resilience and inner strength. Buddhism teaches that resilience to criticism involves staying connected to our values and purpose. When we are clear about our values and intentions, the opinions of others hold less sway over us. Imagine being so focused on your own path that others' judgments become like background noise, present but not distracting. This clarity of purpose serves as an anchor, helping us stay grounded in our own truth and less vulnerable to external validation. By aligning with our values, we become less likely to be swayed by criticism, as we know that we are living authentically according to our own principles. 8. Set boundaries and distance yourself from negativity. Buddhism teaches us that our peace and well-being are deeply influenced by the people and environments we surround ourselves with. While compassion and openness to others are core Buddhist values, setting boundaries and distancing ourselves from negativity are equally important in protecting our inner peace. Boundaries aren't walls to shut others out. Rather, they are safeguards that allow us to maintain our energy, mental clarity, and self-respect. By choosing the influences we allow into our lives, we can create an environment that supports, rather than disrupts, our personal growth. Setting boundaries can be challenging, especially with people we care about or feel responsible for. However, Buddhism emphasizes that we can be compassionate while still protecting our own peace. When someone frequently brings negativity, criticism, or draining energy into our lives, it's not only fair but essential to establish boundaries to protect our own mental health. Imagine your mind as a peaceful garden. You wouldn't want to let weeds overrun it. Boundaries are like fences that help us keep that garden healthy, making space only for what nurtures and strengthens us. Buddhism encourages us to cultivate mindfulness, which allows us to recognize when certain relationships or interactions are affecting us negatively. By staying mindful, we can observe these effects without judgment, gaining clarity about which boundaries are necessary. Setting boundaries can be as simple as limiting our exposure to negative conversations, politely excusing ourselves when someone is overly critical, or choosing not to engage with people who drain our energy. These actions aren't selfish, they are acts of self-respect, allowing us to preserve our mental and emotional resources. It's also important to remember that setting boundaries doesn't mean we lack compassion. Buddhism teaches that true compassion includes compassion for ourselves. We can practice loving kindness toward others without sacrificing our own well-being. In fact, by preserving our energy and staying centered, we are often better equipped to offer genuine compassion and support to others. Setting boundaries is a way of respecting both ourselves and those around us, as it helps prevent feelings of resentment and burnout. Sometimes, distancing ourselves from negativity requires physical space, such as spending less time with people who consistently bring us down. Other times, it's more about creating an emotional distance, learning not to internalize others' criticisms or negativity. Buddhism reminds us that we don't have to take on others' emotions as our own. By practicing detachment, we allow others to have their feelings and perspectives without letting them disrupt our inner peace. This doesn't mean ignoring others. It means maintaining our inner balance in the face of outside negativity. When we surround ourselves with supportive and positive influences, we create an environment that helps us grow and stay centered. Buddhist teachings encourage us to seek out relationships and situations that uplift us, helping us cultivate inner peace and resilience. Imagine the power of spending time with people who encourage your growth and respect your boundaries. This positive energy supports your journey, reinforcing your sense of self-worth and resilience. Setting boundaries and distancing ourselves from negativity is about honoring our own well-being. It's a commitment to nurturing our inner peace, allowing us to stay grounded and focused on what truly matters. With these boundaries in place, we create a sanctuary within ourselves, free from unnecessary negativity and full of potential for growth and joy. By embracing this practice, we give ourselves the space to live authentically, fostering a life rooted in respect, peace, and true inner freedom. 9. Embrace your uniqueness. Buddhism teaches us that each individual is unique, carrying their own strengths, experiences, and perspectives. Embracing our uniqueness means accepting ourselves fully and finding value in the qualities that make us different from others. Rather than seeking to conform to others' expectations, we can celebrate the traits that define us. Buddhism encourages us to cultivate this sense of self-acceptance, freeing us from the need to fit into molds that others have set for us. When we honor our individuality, we connect with a deeper sense of purpose, allowing our true selves to shine. Imagine viewing your life as a tapestry made up of unique threads. Each color, texture, and pattern represents a part of you. No one else's tapestry looks exactly like yours, and that's what makes it beautiful. Embracing this uniqueness means seeing each part of yourself, even the imperfections, as essential elements of who you are. Buddhism reminds us that true peace comes from within, and this inner peace grows when we let go of the need to change ourselves to please others. When we recognize the beauty of our authentic selves, others' opinions lose their power over us. Embracing our uniqueness also helps us to build genuine connections with others. When we are true to ourselves, we naturally attract people who appreciate us for who we are. In contrast, trying to be someone we're not often results in shallow connections based on expectations rather than authenticity. By accepting and embracing our individuality, we create space for relationships that are meaningful and supportive, strengthening our sense of belonging without compromising who we are. Buddhism encourages us to let go of comparison, a habit that often arises from a desire for approval and conformity. When we compare ourselves to others, we diminish our own unique qualities, often seeing them as less valuable simply because they differ from what we see around us. But in Buddhism, we are reminded that each person has a unique path and purpose. There is no need to measure our worth against others. Instead, we can find joy and fulfillment in walking our own path, however different it may look. Embracing our uniqueness also fosters resilience. When we are comfortable with who we are, we become less affected by others' judgments or criticisms. We are grounded in our self-acceptance, allowing us to stand strong even when faced with criticism or pressure to conform. This resilience empowers us to live authentically, driven by our own values and purpose rather than by the approval of others. By embracing our individuality, we contribute to the diversity and richness of the world around us. Buddhism teaches that each person's unique qualities bring value to the larger community. When we embrace who we are, we inspire others to do the same, creating a ripple effect of self-acceptance and authenticity. Imagine a world where everyone feels free to express their true selves. This is the kind of positive impact that embracing your uniqueness can have. Embracing your uniqueness is about honoring the path that is meant for you alone. Buddhism encourages us to walk our own journey with courage, gratitude, and self-respect. In doing so, we cultivate a life that is genuine, fulfilling, and aligned with our true nature. By valuing our unique qualities, we free ourselves from the limitations of others' expectations, creating a life of freedom, joy, and deep inner peace. Each step on this path reinforces the knowledge that your unique journey is not only enough, but also necessary, adding something beautiful and irreplaceable to the world around you. 10. Practice mindfulness and let go. Buddhism teaches us that mindfulness is a powerful tool for inner peace, helping us detach from the opinions, judgments, and expectations that weigh us down. Mindfulness is the practice of fully embracing the present moment, observing our thoughts, emotions, and reactions without getting caught up in them. Through mindfulness, we become aware of how much of our suffering comes from our attachment to external validation and the opinions of others. By observing these tendencies, we gain the clarity and strength to let them go, freeing ourselves from the need to constantly seek approval. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to recognize the passing nature of thoughts and feelings. Just like clouds drifting across the sky, opinions, both positive and negative, come and go. In moments of mindfulness, we understand that these judgments are temporary and they lose their power over us. By letting go of our attachment to these thoughts, we no longer allow them to shape our self-worth or dictate our happiness. We begin to see that true contentment comes from within, untouched by the opinions of others. Mindfulness also helps us cultivate a sense of compassion toward ourselves. Often, we are our harshest critics, allowing self-doubt and insecurity to cloud our minds. Buddhism teaches that we should approach these thoughts with kindness and understanding rather than judgment. Imagine acknowledging a self-critical thought and then gently letting it go, just as you might release a leaf into a flowing stream. This act of letting go is not an act of suppression, but an act of acceptance. It's about understanding that these thoughts are natural, yet they do not define us. Practicing mindfulness also helps us respond to external criticism with calm and clarity. When someone's judgment stirs up negative emotions, we can observe those feelings rather than reacting impulsively. This mindful response allows us to detach from others' opinions, viewing them with objectivity instead of allowing them to disrupt our peace. With time, mindfulness strengthens our ability to face criticism without feeling hurt or defensive, building a solid foundation of inner resilience. In this way, mindfulness is both a shield and a tool for transformation, helping us maintain our sense of self regardless of external pressures. Letting go also involves releasing our need for control over how others perceive us. Buddhism reminds us that we cannot control others' thoughts or actions, only our own. When we stop trying to manage others' opinions, we experience a profound sense of relief and freedom. Practicing mindfulness helps us accept this truth, as it trains us to focus on the present rather than worrying about how we are viewed or judged. By letting go of the need to control perceptions, we can invest our energy into nurturing our inner peace and personal growth. Another benefit of mindfulness is that it keeps us rooted in our values and intentions. When we're mindful, we are more aware of our motivations and can align our actions with our true self. Instead of seeking external validation, we focus on living a life that reflects our deepest values. This alignment with our inner truth strengthens our self-respect and confidence, making us less vulnerable to outside judgments. We become more grounded, finding joy in living authentically rather than trying to conform to others' expectations. Mindfulness is also a path to self-acceptance. As we practice observing our thoughts and emotions, we become more comfortable with ourselves, accepting both our strengths and our imperfections. We learn that we are whole and worthy, just as we are. By letting go of the desire for approval, we free ourselves to embrace our authentic selves. This self-acceptance brings a deep sense of peace, knowing that we do not need to change to be worthy of love and respect. Ultimately, mindfulness is a practice of presence, acceptance, and release. By practicing mindfulness, we free ourselves from the constant noise of opinions, judgments, and expectations. This creates a spaciousness within us, a quiet sanctuary where we can find peace, clarity, and joy. We come to realize that true freedom is found not in others' opinions, but in our own ability to let go and live fully in each moment. Through mindfulness, we develop a deep inner strength and resilience that allows us to navigate life with calm, confidence, and a profound sense of freedom. As we walk this path, remember that each step brings us closer to freedom and inner peace. By applying these teachings from Buddhism, we can release ourselves from the burden of others' opinions and embrace a life of true authenticity and calm. Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-liberation.